Assalamu alaikum and good day, ma'am. My name is Shahana Adin from English 1B, and I will be the first reporter for the chapter 12, the imperative. So let us start. Imperative. In grammar, the term imperative refers to a verb form that is used to give commands, make requests, or offer instructions. It is a verb mood that expresses a direct order or a request. So, here are some examples of imperative sentences. Number one, give direction or instruction. Turn right on 7th Street. Next is making a request or make request. Play Freebird. Give advice. Order the someone. Warn someone. Look behind you. So those are the examples of imperative sentences that you can use to give a command. So again, we use imperative to give command or request to someone we are talking or addressing into. Next, so the question here is what are imperative verbs and what is their function? So we all know that verbs are words used to express action. And we have the sentence here, he opened the window. Opened is the action that the subject is talking. The imperative verb is an action a speaker or writer wants someone else to do. For this reason, they're occasionally called command words or bossy verbs, even though that may not be the speaker's or writer's intent. Open the window is an example of an imperative sentence with the imperative verb being open. You can make imperative sentences sound a little softer in tone by adding the word please somewhere in the sentence, such as right before the verb. Example, please open the window. So, as we observe, by adding the word please in the sentence, it sounds more polite and more softer. Next, when we examine the commands such as go away, be quiet, we are struck by the fact that there is no obvious subject noun phrase. Such sentences would seem to be in violation of one of our fundamental phrase structure rules, which indicate that every English sentence must have both subject or the noun phrase and a predicate or everything that follows the subject noun phrase in a sentence. This is because imperative sentences typically do not include the subject because the subject is understood to be the person being addressed. For example, in the sentence close the door, close is the imperative verb directing someone to perform the action of closing the door. So let's take a deep understanding to this by analyzing the tree for the sentence be quiet. Or how does the sentence be quiet form without the subject? So in this tree, we had the sentence consists of the subject and predicate, the subject noun phrase, pronoun you, and the predicate consisting of the auxiliary and verb phrase. So as we can see, instead of past tense or present tense, we put imperative in the auxiliary part. In the verb phrase consisting of the copula be and adjective phrase, adjective quiet. So in this tree, we can see the subject you is present. But if we apply this rule of subject deletion, we will remove the subject you in the sentence. So as you can see, the U in the previous diagram is now deleted in this tree diagram. By this, we are now able to read this sentence as be quiet. But let's take note that even the U is not present in the sentence anymore, it is still understood to be present. Because, like what I said earlier, imperative sentences typically do not include the subject because the subject is understood to be the person being addressed into. So let's proceed. The form of imperatives. You have just seen how the fact that imperatives are subjectless presents us with a dilemma. As far as our phrase structure rules for sentence, we could of course modify our phrase structure rules for sentence by putting parentheses around the subject, this signifying its optionality. However, our intuition tells us that a subject actually does underlie imperative sentences. It simply does not usually surface. Traditional grammarians have referred to the underlying subject of imperative sentences as the understood you. In other words, the subject of an unmarked form of an imperative is the second person singular or plural subject pronoun you. So in this sentence, if we want to modify the subject you, we can put a parenthesis around it. But still, it is optional. Let us now proceed to the negative imperatives with do. Negative imperatives are somewhat more complicated than their affirmative counterparts. Three types of negative imperatives occur. Number one, don't you run. Contracted negative, subject is present. Number two, don't run. Contracted negative and the subject is absent because as we can see, the you is not present. Number three, do not run. Uncontracted negative and the subject is absent. It is uncontracted because we didn't combine the do and not. A fourth combination with an uncontracted negative and subject present does not occur, like do not you run and do you not run, because it is considered as ungrammatical. The three grammatical negative imperatives are derived from a common basic structure. Sentence consists of sentence modifier not. Other sentence consists of the subject and predicate. In the subject, the noun praised, the pronoun you, and in predicate, we have the auxiliary imperative and verb praise, verb run. Then, by applying our derivation rules, we can produce the three acceptable forms. So we have the sentence 1, sentence 2, and sentence 3. First is the output of base. Sentence 1, not you imperative run. 2, not you imperative run. 3, not you imperative run. Now the operator addition. Not you imperative do run. 2, not you imperative do run. Sentence 3, not you imperative do run. So the do is our operator. So the next rule is the not placement. Sentence 1, not you imperative do not run. 2, you imperative do not run. 3, you imperative do not run. Next is the not contraction. Sentence 1, you imperative do plus contracted not run. Sentence 2, you imperative do plus contracted not run. And in sentence 3, it does not apply. Let's proceed to the subject operator. First is inversion. Sentence 1, imperative do plus contracted not you run. Sentence 2 does not apply and sentence 3 does not apply. Next is the subject dilation. In sentence 1 does not apply. Sentence 2, imperative do plus contracted not run. Sentence 3, imperative do not run. And the morphology, we form sentence 1, don't you run. Sentence 2, don't run. And sentence 3, do not run. By making sure that the not contracted with the do before a subject operator inversion applies, the ungrammatical form in for above could never be produced. Let's proceed to the negative imperative with be. An examination of the following set of sentences reveals that their rules of not placement operates differently in negative imperatives from the way it operates in negative declarative sentences and in interrogatives. So would be 5, don't you be late. 6, don't be late. 7, do not be late. And the sentence 8, do not you be late and do you not be late is considered ungrammatical. So here's an example of a tree and the derivation of the sentence 6, don't be late. So we have this sentence consists of sentence modifier not. The other sentence consists of the subject, noun praise, pronoun, you. And predicate consists of auxiliary and verb phrase. Auxiliary is imperative, and verb phrase consists of copula be and adjective phrase, adjective late. So in this tree, the you subject is present. And if we read this sentence, it is not you be late. So we will now apply the derivation rules to make this sentence don't be late. So the first rule is with operator addition. So this diagram is same as earlier, but now we put the rule operator addition in the part of auxiliary. And the operator we have is the do. So the next rules that we are going to apply is with not placement, not construction, and subject delation. So if we observe the number 2, not placement, in the previous diagram, the not is present in the sentence modifier. But now, we will place that not in the part of auxiliary, and in this process, we will also apply the not contraction, meaning the not that we will put is now contracted as an apostrophe T. So the last rule is the number 4, subject delation. So in the previous diagram, the subject U is present, but now we are going to remove it. So by applying all the derivation rules, we can now read this sentence as don't be late. So that's all for my part. Thank you for listening.